Hey guys, this is RST instructor Chris Tyler, and I want to share with you guys a very special story that we had recently from one of our members of the site, longtime member who's been a part of our unlimited review group and who got a chance to come into town and take a private lesson with us here at Rotary Swing. I want to show you guys a three-step process that was able to overcome and get him into a much better impact position with a little bit more lag, and also changed his path by almost 4 degrees. So it's a three-step process that a lot of you players, if you've been struggling with getting lag or getting into a better impact position, you want to pay close attention to this video. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay guys, so if you're joining us on the YouTube channel, and before I get started showing this three-step process of one of our recent RST student success stories, I'm going to go ahead and include a preview of a premium video that we have on the website called 5 Minutes to a Perfect Release. And remember, if you like this video, go ahead and click the like button below, and if you have any questions or comments, feel free to post those up and I'll help you out as best I can. Okay guys, so as I said in the opener, I'm going to be talking about a three-step process that was able to help this student, Kevin, who's been overly frustrated with his golf game for the last few years and was even at a point to where he was thinking about giving up the game entirely. He was just super frustrated, and we were able to lay out a pretty clear process of things that he needs to work on, and be able to relate some of the premium videos and how he's going to take these and actually work through them in order to get the same kind of results that we got during the private lesson. And what we ran into for a problem when we first took a look at this golf swing is, I'm going to go ahead and get both players down right into the hitting area here, and you're going to see over on the right hand side of the screen, this is the old Kevin. Okay, very similar style position or similar frame here. You can see that we've gotten things really jammed up. Hands very close to the body, right heel's way up off the ground, body's trying to spin open, and his path is working really hard to the left side. Where over here on the left hand side of the screen, we get the heel much closer to the ground, we've got the club, the hands and arms starting to extend out in front of us. And I want to just show you guys the process of what we worked on to try to get to this particular move. And he was able to get a lot of great success during the lesson, and now he has the tools in place that he's going to have to work through these things in order. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first thing that we had to correct. Okay guys, so in step number 1 of Kevin's corrective process, we were able to identify what the main problem was, and what was causing him to get into these poor impact positions and not being able to load up the correct muscles properly in the golf swing. So in turn, he was going to rely on the right side of his body to make up for the lack of power, and in turn that's what got him into that position that I showed you guys in the first part of the video. So the first thing we had to do is kind of understand what was going to be the best way to get him to load and rotate properly. And if you look over here on the left hand side of the screen, we were able to make a little bit of a posture correction here, where on the right hand side you can see a lot of roundness from the thoracic spine up, which in turn has got his shoulders showing a little bit more droop here, and he's also got a little bit more knee flex. You can see this little tiny window right here where we're normally looking for the back of the knee to be right over the center of the ankle, and we were able to get that done in a pretty short period of time, get him comfortable with that. Setup changes can be really uncomfortable at first, especially if we're so used to doing something. But if you take full commitment to it, then it allows us to be able to use our big muscles to be able to move and load and unload in the golf swing. So that was our first step. That was the first part of the process here, is we just made a posture correction, and we in turn got him to stand a little bit taller in the knees. That stuff is outlined in the lower body stability video. We also have a number of videos in the setup section that are going to talk about how to get into a really good anatomic, biomechanical, safe setup position. So all these videos are going to be to the right of the video player as I go through them. Just click the recommended videos. It's going to go ahead and populate all the videos that pertain to Kevin's corrective process, and you can use these and make sure you use these in order. That was the big thing, is that we had to do things in order. All right, so let's go ahead and look at things from a face-on perspective, and I can show you what we did to fix his impact position a little bit more. Alright guys, so in step 2 of this corrective process, we had to identify what was causing him the most harm down in the hitting area. And I'm going to go ahead and get you guys to an impact position here. This is the original starting point. So you can see from the top part of the swing down, aside from the lack of big shift over to the lead side, there's just a lot of rotation. But in turn, he's also starting to push against the golf club very hard with the right hand. Okay, so the right hand from the top of the swing, and the left thumb for all that matters, we're starting to throw and push against the club, and then when he gets down in the hitting area, you can see this position here. Clubhead is already starting to pass his hands. He has lost lag. He's got that right leg moving in towards his hands. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to spend some time with him just working on the release. And what we did to correct that is we worked from a hip high to hip high area. So I had him kind of preset his weight on his lead side, And then we sat there and we swung his arm without a golf club. We used his shoulder. I made him think that his shoulder was a pivot point, that his left arm could just kind of swing underneath. And he was amazed by how little tension he wanted to be able to feel with that particular move. So we had him work out to where his glove logo was going to be out in front of us out here at 9 o'clock, and then his glove logo would be facing behind him at 3 o'clock. And I had him do that for a good number of reps. So I had him really grab a hold of what it's feeling like to be able to allow the left arm to stay relaxed, allow the left wrist to feel like it's just rotating. And in turn, we started to slowly add the club back to the mix. And he was able to get the club to start to allow it to do what it's supposed to do, and that's rotate. And once he started to get that feel, then we moved on to step number 3, which was really kind of the defining moment of the lesson and before we started to put it all back together. So let's take a look at number 3 here. So steps 1, work on posture. Step 2, we worked on the release. Left hand release drill and 5 minutes to a perfect release. Those are some great videos to give you the correct feel of how we want to let go of control to get control. All right, so let's take a look at step number 3 here. Okay guys, so in step 3 of this corrective process, we had to really kind of chunk apart a drill here, chunk up a drill that was going to allow him to put more shift in his move and not allow the body to continue to rotate through the hitting area, because that was really the primary mistake that was happening. You can see over here how his right knee kind of jams in towards his left, and then he starts to throw the club from the top because he's not allowed to use his body as a big powerhouse or a big powerful tool. And you can see again, this is where the club shaft is starting to pass his hands. He actually gets himself into a little bit of a scoopy position here. You can see that the hands are really scooping at it. So all in all, we made some really great progress with this drill. It's a good drill for you guys to try out. It's much like the squat to square. And this is before we started to put it all together. So we went, step 1 was correct the posture. Step 2 is really try to focus on what the release is supposed to feel like. We slowly started to allow him to put the right hand on the club. Even though I would normally tell him to keep the right hand off the club, he was in town to play in a big guys outing, big guys golf trip where he wanted to play a lot of golf, and so we had to be able to allow him to get that right hand on the club and see how he could feel and have it cooperate with the left hand. So we slowly did a lot of left hand drills and then built ourselves up to where we could rest the right hand on there. And then what we did is that we felt like we were going to just sit into this lead side now. So you can see a big shift now with very little rotation from the body. All right, so you can see that his lead arm is still up here about parallel to the ground while he's shifted his weight over to his left side, and then he's going to start to post up in the left side, and then he's going to control the rotation. Now you can see a much more different appearance here as his hands are starting to approach in front of his trail thigh. So you can see that we're starting to get a little bit lag. Now this is not, obviously it's not perfect yet, but he's got the right tools to start to work towards perfection. He still likes to push the club or throw the club a little bit early, but in turn, we were able to get him into a much better impact position to where his right knee is not jammed in the left, and now we've got some forward shaft lean here at the hitting area with a really nice looking appearance here as far as impact positions are concerned. Maybe a little bit jammed up still with the left side, but all in all, some really great improvement. And so that's kind of the way we worked through this process. Is we had to correct posture number 1 to make sure that we were going to load up and use our big muscles to start to create power. And then we worked on the release, just slowly starting to get some good feel of what that was like to let go of control and really let the club do what it's designed to do. We slowly let the right hand get back on there, and then we worked on the sequence drill. And in turn, we were able to work up to full speed where we shallowed out his golf swing pretty drastically, and we were able to keep the same sort of speed that he had. So at least we knew that we could send him on his way and he was going to be able to play some good golf. So let's just look at the final slide here one more time, and we'll lay out a game plan for you guys at home. All right, everyone, so here we are back at the big payoff where the Kevin of new is on the left-hand side of the screen and the Kevin of old is on the right-hand side of the screen. You can see kind of where we were at the starting point, right to the end, where he was able to maintain his speed. He was able to get into a much better impact position with a little bit more lag, and in turn started to strike the golf ball really beautifully towards the end of the session. So the point is that when you look at the way we want to work through these processes, we've got to take things in very, very small pieces. So we made a posture correction. We did that for a number of minutes. We made sure he started to get a little bit more comfortable with it. And then we slowly started to work on the release, making sure that everything was very concentrated, that he really grabbed a hold of what we were trying to accomplish with that. And then we slowly added the right hand back to the mix and started to get the feel of through the hitting area of what it's going to be like to actually let go of control and let the club do what it's supposed to do. And then after that, we worked up into that sequence drill that you saw and really kind of slowly started to ramp up the speed. And we got to the point where got into a much better impact position, and now he's not wanting to quit the game. He wants to get out there and play a lot of good golf, And so the point is, again, is just to make sure if you're going to play or practice through changes, take things in really, really small strides. Make sure that you work through things in a process. There's no point of going out there and trying to put the foot on the accelerator and going 110 miles an hour. Go slow and you'll get yourself there faster than you ever thought you would. All right, guys, now let's get out there and play some great golf and make it a great day.
In the lose the right hand drill, I started talking about how you get a speedy release of the golf club without you having to put any effort into it whatsoever. For a lot of golfers, releasing the club is a foreign concept. They've never actually released the club. They use their body. And then the problem with that is if your body keeps turning through impact, the club head and your body have to move at a more relative constant speed together versus letting my body stop and the club can move very fast and my body doesn't have to do anything. In fact, the club can actually release faster as my body slows down and I transmit energy up the chain into the club. So learning how to release the club and let that right hand come off is really important, but obviously we don't play golf left-handed, although I have a lot of students who ask me if they can after they work through these drills that you're about to learn now. What I'm going to do is work through the sequence of how to learn to release the club very, very slowly until you start building the proper movements in there. So here's what I do with all my students. The first thing when they're learning how to release this left hand is we take the right hand completely out of the equation. If you're someone who pushes really hard from the right side or flips that right hand, this is critical. You do not skip this step. You want to start learning how to release the club properly to get into a proper impact position. So at first,